Hey, you'll have a great time when I die. All right, so on with the podcast. Let's go.
Keep that in the episode.
Yeah.
I want that in the episode.
That's how it starts.
Hello and welcome to the One Up Pod, your monthly deep dive into a video game you know and love. This month we're taking a look at Guerrilla Games' 2017 release, Horizon Zero Dawn. Play that clip, Future Chip.
The world of the old ones. What secrets lie buried beneath their crumbling ruins? Why Earth is ours no more.
If you haven't worked out already, I am your host this month. My name is Chip Thompson, and I'd like to think that in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, I would be from the Kaja tribe, because, you know, they're advanced, they're powerful, they like a bit of sun worship. Like, I'm not totally reaching with these, it's going to be fine, guys, okay, don't worry. And if I'm in the Kaja, then naturally, Bash here has to be the Shadow Kaja, because they're the mortal enemy, and you're a murderous tit. So, hello, Bash, how you doing?
Is this every time you host? You're going to make me the worst character.
Yes.
I will not stand for this abuse.
Well, you can sit and record a podcast, that's fine.
No, I'm not having that. That was terrible.
Well, that's getting cut. How you doing, Bash? You all right?
Yes? I'm very confused.
Cool.
I think you've upset her by calling her a murderous tit, so...
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the other voices you heard there was Andy. And Andy, I think you'd have to be from the Nora tribe because, you know, you seem a bit frosty and savage at first. But once people get to know you, you're all right.
Oh, well, thank you.
I am dreading what comes next.
And finally, we have Becky, who would be from the Oseram tribe, because mainly I think you'd be really upset as I didn't put you in the same tribe as Erend. But also, you know, you're the fierce warrior of the group. So there you go, you got the best one.
I mean, I'll take it. Thank you. Could be worse.
Just insult me. Do you insult me and Sasha?
I didn't insult you, I said nice things about you.
Yeah, but it was framed.
I mean, you did say it was
insults.
frosty and savage. Like, it was negging at best.
Yeah. I'm not going to go out with you, Chip.
Then why are we doing this? As is tradition here on the One Up Pod, before we get into the guts of Horizon Zero Dawn, let's have a little check-in with our buds here and see what we've been playing for the past month. I mean, just getting out of the way now, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I'll just be playing that game forever.
I
It
am
doesn't
shocked.
end. It doesn't end. Okay, it doesn't end. And also, I haven't been playing that many video games this past month either, so that hasn't helped. That's just added another 10 years onto it. But how about you, Andy? What have you been playing?
Well, I am now a PlayStation 5 dickhead, so I've been playing... Yeah, I was, you know, I packed myself on Amazon all morning, so, you know, I deserved it. Yeah, I've been playing, like, the two Insomniac games entries for PlayStation 5, Miles Morales Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank. And they're both awesome. So, fuck you, Chip.
To be fair, I actually can contribute on that and say I agree. I may not have a PlayStation 5, but I have regular access to one, so...
Oh, I thought you were agreeing on the fuck you chip bit.
I mean, I always agree with that. I feel that's a given. I don't need to say it anymore.
It's just your natural state of being.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what have you been playing then, Bash, this past month?
Kind of like you, to be honest. I've not been playing a great deal aside from the podcast topic game. But over the past week, I've been calling it Sasha Week, I've had a week off work and off my child, a week to myself to do whatever. And I treated myself to Haven on the Switch. And that is about two lovers who give up everything and they escape to a lost planet to be together. So it's an RPG adventure game. And so, whilst I've not played a lot of it in the hour or so that I have played, some of my favourite moments have been, oh, they hold hands when they zoom around, and oh, you can pet the weird space lizards. So
This sounds very you.
it's so ridiculously me, and it does have an age rating for apparently not quite entirely spicy content, but you know.
Ooh, space spicy.
It's not suitable for children, apparently, because of the romance, you know, the saga of the two lovers who try to stay together against all odds. It sounds very Romeo and Juliet in space, and I'm very into it.
Because famously, Romeo and Juliet had lots of space lizards.
Yeah, I mean, they would if they were in space. You don't know that.
That's true. That is very true, actually.
And I feel like if any of you guys saw any pictures of it, it would only feed your Sasha is a weeb fury.
Oh, really?
Okay, I'm Googling that.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, definitely. I just looked it up now. Yeah. Sasha is a weeb.
Becky, what about you? What have you been playing?
I have just started playing Outward, which is a fantasy survival open world RPG. So like all the things that Sasha hates. So I am so far not very good at surviving. I haven't got very far into it yet, but I have a sword and a big hat. So we'll see how it goes.
Was that a big sword and a small hat, or a big hat and a small sword?
Small sword, big hat. Which is,
Okay.
I feel like that's the correct way round. Like, you know.
Oh, is this in game? Okay, I thought you were just
Yeah, no,
talking
not
about
in
how you
life.
dressed when you played. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I always wear big hats when I'm able to, but it's a bit warm for that at the moment.
I could see you in a big hat.
Yeah, if you can't fight, wear a big hat. It's the reason it's a saying.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
my grandma used to
something new
say
every
it
day.
all the time. If you can't fight, wear a big hat.
Did she own many big hats?
She did actually, yeah.
Oh, that's okay then. 'Cause otherwise she was a very violent person.
Well, there was that too.
Sorry, I want to do a podcast about this now because I want to know about all these big hats.
What? I mean,
Welcome to the Big Hat Pod.
You must have had a big house.
Well, not like what?
Oh, she stacked them.
How big are these hats? Do you think? Like,
They are ginormous in my head.
are we talking like full on? Like, I'm trying to
Yes.
think of like an example of a massive hat. Like,
The hat, the house is there, and then there's a hat is just on top of the house.
yeah, it's a hat house.
Yeah, it doesn't have a roof, it just has a hat.
Yeah.
This is going well.
Well, Andy, as our resident historian of the pod, and as it, to bring it back to a section that's getting incredibly over with the audience because of all your hard work and dedication, what have you got on the history of Horizon Zero Dawn?
I've got fuck all.
Hey, excellent. Okay, moving on. Before we get into the story and the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, I was curious to kind of hear how you guys discovered the game. Like, when did you play it? And especially, like, what were your first impressions? So for me, I got my PS4 back in 2017. I'd been an Xbox dickhead for quite a long time before then. Since I had my PS2, actually. So you're talking like a good 10 years of not having any sort of PlayStation. And, I kind of realized that all the best exclusives were on PlayStation, and I made this list of things that I needed to play. So it was things like Uncharted, The Last of Us, even Heavy Rain as well, which I really hope we cover one day. And Horizon Zero Dawn was always...
Keep hoping.
Jason! And Horizon Zero Dawn was kind of always on my radar. Like, I'd seen my cousin play it and stuff, and I knew he liked it. But I don't know, maybe because it wasn't like a big franchise, or maybe I just missed the hype or something, but I didn't actually play it until, ironically, like exactly a year ago. It was on sale, I needed the game to play, so I just bought it. And like my first impressions, to be honest, were like, I mean, I adore the game, and I know we're going to get into that, but like, it took me such a long time to just kind of settle with it. Like I couldn't get a grasp on the world or like the combat or the movement style in some ways as well. And like I couldn't tell you when it did click with me, but there was just a point where I was like, oh no, I actually love this game. And then kind of obviously hated myself for not getting it sooner. But Becky, I'm gonna come to you first, as I know you're an even bigger fan of the game than I am.
Yes.
So how did you discover Horizon Zero Dawn, and what were your initial impressions like the very first time you played it?
So the first time I saw anything about the game was, I remember seeing a trailer for it in the cinema, and my dad leaning across and going, that looks ridiculous, while I'm sat there thinking, oh, it looks pretty cool actually. And obviously having a female protagonist caught my eye, because still a rarity, and the fact that she was dressed practically and not like in a fur bikini or anything. So I was like, yeah, okay. But I wasn't quite rich enough to just like take a punt on a game that I wasn't quite sure about.
I know that pain.
Yeah. And then the buzz around it got quite positive, and I think Andy had started playing it, or we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. I'll just take a chance. And I had the same experience as you. The first time I played it, it took me a really long time to get into, and I think I went on a bit of a gaming break and forgot how to play it. So when I came back to it and was like, I have no clue. So I restarted it thinking, well, you know, if I don't get to it this time, it's fine. And yeah, similar thing. It took me a while to sort of get to grips with how the world works, how the combat worked, the strategy stuff. But I remember one mission, it's where you go to rescue a guy from a fortress, and there's loads of people, there's loads of guards, and you have to stealth your way in. And it was the first time the strategy of it really clicked for me, and after that I was hooked. And yeah, I mean, playing it for the podcast was my fourth time playing it total.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so big fan.
So you're a fan.
Yeah, it's all right, you know, I quite like it.
I am just picking up on these little hints that maybe you kind of like the game, you know.
Just
like...
a few.
Well, okay, we'll come to Andy next time, because so Andy, you played it like before any of us then, is that right?
Yeah, I pre-ordered it, but the thing is, I pre-ordered it on the US store because it was a little bit cheaper. So I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll pre-order it that way. And so I sat around waiting for midnight to stroll around, like tick around, so I could start playing it immediately. And then I remembered it's on American time, so it wouldn't unlock until 8 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, fuck me! And yeah, so I decided, should I stay up? No, let's sleep. I've got 8 hours, so I better sleep. I was aware of the game for a long time. I was deep into my, basically the PlayStation 4 at that point had proven itself as far as exclusives go. So I thought, yeah, it's an exclusive, it's going to be worth it. Even though I had no experience with Killzone or anything like that. I just thought, yeah, this looks like my kind of game. And PlayStation 4 is just a proven quantity at this time, so fuck it. Wasn't waiting up until 8 a.m. worth, but, you know, it would have been worth waiting up till midnight and playing it till the early hours. What else am I supposed to say? I forgot. I just started moaning about pre-orders. Don't pre-order, it's a fucking scam.
So did you actually play it through then? So 8 a.m. comes around, you've learnt your lesson. Did you actually play it like all the way through? Did you complete it first time round back then?
No. I played it up to, it was one of the cauldrons. I got kind of stuck. Like there was a point. It's the same thing as my problem with Final Fantasy VII. I got to a point where I wasn't the right level to face the kind of threat I was going up against, and I was locked in on a save that I couldn't roll back on. Otherwise, I'd lose like hours of progress, and it just demoralised me. I was like, and I just uninstalled it and just never went back until the podcast. And I thought, I better fucking finish this game actually.
Oh, it would have been amazing if you got stuck in another cauldron and just couldn't get out, and you're like, why is the same shit happening again? What is going wrong?
I'd have just winged it. I'd just gone on YouTube and just watched a bunch of videos and pretended I finished it.
So what were your, if you can remember all the way back to 2017? Jesus. What were your first impressions of the game?
My immediate first impression was like I loved Aloy, like just seeing her as a little girl and stuff, all curious about the world, and like saddened when she saw like examples of like family togetherness and stuff. I was quite touched by that. I thought, oh, she's a really cool character, and I immediately thought like I should tell Becky about this, like just because she was on the fence obviously, and I thought, yeah, this seems like almost immediately I was like, this seems like a game I should tell Becky to get. It's like, yes, it was a really good first impression. It's just, yeah, I didn't play it properly enough to finish the game the first time around. I was really just taken with it was mainly Aloy that won me over. The world building, the world had already pulled me in. That's why I pre-ordered it. But it's Aloy which has made me want to play through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. She's fantastic. And I think that's a great compliment towards Becky as well, that you played this and you're like, this is awesome. Becky needs to play it. She'll love it.
And he was absolutely right. So clearly knows me well enough after all these years.
I know what's worth your like £60, so that's about it. Any more than it's dangerous territory, but yeah.
Yeah.
So no PS5 games then?
No
is what you're
PS5.
saying?
I'm never going to recommend a
no.
PS5. Yeah. Other than Ratchet and Clank.
See, you've done it now. You've broken it already.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm actually not confident enough in Ratchet and Clank.
Ooh.
No, I love it, but I'm not saying spend £70 on it. So.
Nah, too late. I've already bought it. Sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah. Don't even have a PS5, and here we go. This is all your fault. What have you done?
You're wasting your PS5 money on games that you can't play.
Oh, my PS5 money went on my car.
Oh shit. Yeah.
Anyway, enough about my pain. Bash, I believe this was the first time you've ever played this game. So, tell me the things. What did you think the first time you loaded up the game?
First of all, you believed incorrectly.
Yeah, she's definitely said this many times
Yeah.
that she's played it before.
I pay attention.
Good
Clearly.
host.
I'm hosting.
Yes,
I
you
know.
are.
Smashing job you're doing. Yeah, no, I played it back in 2017. Again, I got it when it came out. And I played it for a few hours. And then I got bored and frustrated. And I didn't pick it back up until for the podcast. I loved Aloy. I think the world is cool. There's a whole middle section, and having now finished the game in its entirety, I think it suffers itself on having a whole middle section that's just very samey and really fucking boring. I'm sorry.
We'll
Oh,
get to that.
hang on. This is only first impressions. We'll get into the argument later.
Oh yes.
Sorry,
we will.
I'm
Well,
just
there you
thinking-
go. My first impressions both times then. My first impressions were I found it boring and frustrating. And
It's my heart breaking. That's the sound you can hear. It's fine. It's fine.
Cracking my knuckles.
after the first few hours, I think all of the opening stuff is great. And then, yeah, there's like a middle 3 to 7 hours that's just felt like busy work and a slog. And honestly, if it hadn't been for the podcast, I think I would have put it down again.
I think we should just leave it there for the pod today then, because obviously we're just going to upset Becky.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I can.
She's a big girl. She can...
Yeah, I can cope.
Yeah, we'll talk after Becky. It'll be fine. Don't
Okay.
worry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, as Bash mentioned there, we should probably talk about the story a bit, I guess. So I think on the surface, it's quite a simple one, really. You play as Aloy, who is a young hunter and an outcast from the Nora tribe, Andy's tribe. And as she looks to find her origins and she wants to find out who her birth mother is, and it's all in this world that mixes primitive technology with these awesome killer death robot animals and dinosaurs. I mean, if that doesn't satisfy you, I don't know what will. And I think for me personally with the game, I think the way the story unfolds, the way it drips all the information about the world and the things that we learn about the land, that we're in a post-apocalyptic America, how the previous race of humans fell, Aloy's origins, and just the way it kind of unravels with all its main storyline and side quests and the collectibles as well, I think is amazing. And it's what makes the game for me. Like, I think it's its strongest point. And numerous times did I cry and gasp in shock as something like dramatic was revealed. And so Becky, I'm going to come to you first on this one then, because I think you do the story way more justice than anyone I know could. So tell me about your experience with the narrative and the way that it goes.
Well, I think we should spoiler warning just in case anyone hasn't played the game, because I feel like
Yes,
we're
good
probably
point.
going to get into what Zero Dawn
Everything.
is. And that
Yes.
should be discovered in the game. I think it's like the story. So obviously you've got the kind of dual narrative of Aloy exploring this world and finding out what happened to the old ones who you have the remnants of, but not necessarily anything else. it's just this really interesting exploration of humanity at both its worst and its best, because obviously the tech that is still around is used to both end and save the world. So it's that kind of weird conflict all the time of good, bad, immoral, moral, intelligence, ignorance, and it's all sort of bundled up into this really amazing collection of things that you find around the world, like the vantage points, which was one of the collectibles. And you see the last few diary entries of a man traveling around the world as it ends, and talking about the memories he has of like going to see games at stadiums and going to see a parade and a fly past, and it's just my emotions.
I think that's some of the best stuff in it.
Yeah,
Emotions. They
just emotions. I think it's so tragic and it's so bittersweet, like, because obviously humanity survives, but you see the remnants of what is lost. A bit like BioShock, you have the impression and the atmosphere of what the old world used to be like and what these people were fighting for, but the ultimate tragedy is all you have left of them is occasional data logs and audio points that you pick up around the world. It's so good.
It is, and I think they're some of my like favorite collectibles in the game. You know, you find a lot of games, open world, there's going to be like, oh, go and collect 100 sandbags because that's fun. But this, I think there is just such a great, like, almost short story within these world with every single thing that you picked up.
Yeah.
And then like you'd find something and you'd realize it was connected to another piece of audio that you'd picked up earlier, and then you can really see these mini individual stories that are just cropping up from the previous world and all these different characters and their experiences. And what I wanted to do, but I ran out of time, was I wanted to go on YouTube and just see if anyone had put them all together in one almost like little audio play or something like that, because I think just going back and listening to all those would be just like mind-blowing, you know, because obviously when I started playing the game again, I didn't do all the collectibles because didn't have time, just wanted to get through the main story. But they are, easily some of my favourite going around the world and picking things up, things that I've had in the game ever.
Yeah, and it makes it feel so multi-dimensional as well, because obviously you have all the emotion of Aloy's story, but you discover, all, like you say, all these little stories of like people who died fighting in Enduring Victory, and the people who put Project Zero Dawn together, the people who couldn't take the knowledge of what happens to or what is going to happen to the world and go do lally.
Ted Farrow, you fucking prick.
Yeah, hate him. He's like the worst villain for someone you never meet. I think it allows you to explore all these stories without getting too bogged down in the detail. They're all quite short. And you can carry on listening to audio points as you're going around the world. Like, it doesn't stop you, but it just adds real like detail and colour to it.
Yeah, and it fills in those gaps as well, because for such a long time in the game, or maybe to about halfway through, but you don't know what happened. You know, like you find out these little tidbits and stuff like that, and you kind of have little guesses as to how the world ended, how our kind of civilization ended. And I love that they just put in these very small little details of these people, what they were doing around Zero Dawn, you know, their little jobs. Like, you know, you pick up little notes about just what the receptionist is complaining about, like needing extra security and stuff like that. And it just, I think the world building in that is just fantastic, and I love it, and I want to talk about it forever.
Yes. We probably shouldn't, though. We should probably let Andy and Sasha talk at some point.
Yeah. Well, I was going to come to Andy next, because I think what we've got now is this really lovely, like, Goldilocks situation again. I'm not going to get into any more porridge recipes like last time, because that went places. But yeah, so Andy, how was your experience with the story?
Well, for me, I'm just going to say it's interesting that the most interesting things you talked about just then were mostly stuff from the past, because that was my main impression from the game. All the most compelling things in the story happened before Aloy's story starts, because I didn't find Aloy's story particularly compelling. It's all the stuff that's happened before Aloy was born.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's an imbalance there.
Because Aloy's story doesn't have a villain that I wanted to see beaten. It didn't have stakes that I really needed to see resolved. But things like Elizabeth's sacrifice and Pharaoh going insane and like destroying, like, you know, trying to save mankind in inverted commas, those things were really compelling. It was the most dramatic stuff in the game, and it was essentially like audio logs. It wasn't Aloy's story. It was something she was watching happen. It was great examples of that, but they still were just like prestige info dumps rather than a good, strong narrative that our character was experiencing.
Well, I was going to ask, so how do you feel about then that, Aloy's, she's going hunting for, well, initially her mother, and then, her birth mother, because she doesn't know who she is, and that's kind of driving it? Like, how did you feel about her? Because we learn with Aloy, really, as we go along. So, weirdly, I'd never kind of thought about that in terms of, like, my favourite thing is everything that comes before the actual game that takes place. And I think that is a very fair criticism, absolutely. But did you not enjoy Aloy's discovery of all the things and her reacting to them?
Not really, because I kind of saw where it was going, and that's not necessarily a criticism. Like, a well-told story should be able to be easy to anticipate because it'll be logically laid out and you can see where it's going. So I kind of tuned out a little bit because I knew where things were leading after a certain point, and it took a while to reach that point in the game. Like the two big things I talked about earlier, my two favourite things, happened right near the end of the game. There wasn't, before that, there was nothing really in the story that hooked me in. And I'd kind of like to ask you two, Becky and Chip, what was the moment that hooked you guys in? Because, like, for me, it took most of the game to find something.
I mean, I loved Aloy as a character, and I think, obviously, yes, the Elizabeth Sobek stuff was predictable. You could see that pretty much straight away. You knew where it was going. But I found Aloy's quest for companionship compelling, and her getting used to people wanting her around. I found that quite relatable as someone who's quite introverted, that she kind of has this discomfort with people wanting to spend time with her and liking her as a person. She's not quite used to it because of being an outcast as she grew up. So I think, like, for Aloy's side of the story, it was finding people like, I mean, we're going to talk about my boy Erend at some point, but finding people like Erend and Avad and Silence who respected her for who she was and not rejected her out of hand because she was an outcast. It's one of those things that I latched onto quite early on, and it's not as compelling as the old stuff, for sure. And I do agree that the story itself is imbalanced. Like, Aloy deserves a bit more attention to her side of the story. But I also think if you were experiencing the downfall of the old civilization in a game, like from, say, if you were playing as Elizabeth Sobek, I don't think it would carry the same kind of emotional weight that it does in this game. So yeah, I think I agree with you. I agree that Aloy is fairly passive, but I think for me it's the interpersonal relationships that she develops, and it accumulates in that just amazing moment at the end where if you do all the right side missions, you get all of her allies showing up to help her in the battle, and it's just so lovely. And she finally finds a kind of family and a kind of friendship that she didn't expect to ever have. So I like that aspect a lot about her story.
I love that moment. That moment at the end when you get all the allies just turn up and you're like, oh yeah, all these people you met, it's so lovely. And I didn't get that when I played it this time because I was just speeding through the main quest, not doing any of the side quests. And then I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll fight Hades alone then. That's fine. I'll be all right.
Aw, where is Chip?
Dear diary. I don't think I could pinpoint the exact moment when it clicked with me. I think some of the issues that I had trying to get into it was almost the gameplay rather than the story.
Yeah.
Because I think the story is definitely stronger than the gameplay. And, I think I look at a character like Rost, who I think is a really good anchor at the start in terms of, like, giving you that kind of emotion, like you understand here's an Aloy's relationship right away. And, just Aloy in general, I think she is the reason that this game is so loved. She's such a great character, and I think that's, for the most part, we all love her. That's maybe one thing we do all agree on. But I was just so fascinated by this world and exploring it through Aloy that I couldn't pinpoint just one certain thing, especially with the combat the gameplay itself, where I was like, yes, I love this game. I think I was just so swept up in like, oh, I want to know why there's big animal robot dinosaurs everywhere and what happened to the last people. And maybe I just enjoyed the story more. I don't know, but just everything about that, and especially discovering what happened before as well. For me, I was just so locked into that experience of discovery with Aloy.
Yeah, that's fair. But, like, for me, I come down quite hard on the main story because, like, the main story is like the reason you face a big boss at the end of the game. That should be your main motivation. Whereas for me, my peak came way before that and it was all audio log stuff, and so I kind of plateaued a little bit, and I didn't have that urge to like win because I didn't give a shit about Hades really, or like I can't even remember the other dude's name.
Healers.
Healers, yeah, just not nothing. I'd felt nothing for it, so it was more like just getting. I wanted to beat the boss so I could see if there was anything like at the end of the game, like a coda or something, which I got. It was a really lovely ending, but again, it was more about what happened in the past. Like I was more touched by that than anything particularly about Aloy's part in it.
No, that's fair. Well, I want to hear what Bash thought of the story, because I don't know if we need to plug Becky's ears for a little bit, or
I'll cope. Don't worry. I will march on.
So Bash, you said you found a lot of it quite boring.
Strapping.
Oh my god! Okay, Jesus Christ, that was not good words to hear at that moment.
No, I mean, I think I've really kind of already said it, and I think Andy really covers it quite well as well, in the sense that, so when I decided to play this for the podcast, I fully committed to doing every side quest, every errand, every little collectible thing you had to do. I thought, if I'm gonna, because we all know I don't like open world games, and to be really honest, a lot of the time I don't really play the big AAA stuff. It's just not really my jam. I like quick games, short games, indie games, things like that. So I thought, no, I'm going to really commit to it so I can actually say better in words rather than, I just don't like this kind of game. It's just not for me. So from the story perspective, it takes too long to get to the hook. It really does. And honestly, I even looked on Reddit and stuff. I'm not the only one that holds that opinion. And obviously Andy does too. I think the fact that it wasn't until I think the Grave Horde, for me, where I actually started to want to know how the story ended, and that's like quest 14 or 15 out of 22, where the last 5 or so kind of really just fly by anyway. I think some of those big reveals are too compacted together at the end, because all of a sudden it starts being like, oh wow, oh shit, oh fuck, all the way along, and all before that I'm being like, why have I just been fannying around, wandering around this world, meeting people that were fine. It was all fine, but it just Andy, you hit the nail on the head.
How fine would you say it was?
I liked it better than Final Fantasy VII. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I'll take that.
No, Becky.
I don't know. I think maybe that was some of it, what Andy said there. Like, Aloy is quite passive in it. Like, I really liked Aloy, but all the ways along, I just couldn't really fully get on board with her motivations. As in, once you worked out what it was going to be, and it is all very signposted very clearly. So it was interesting, because obviously, Becky, you and I, you sometimes, like when we were just hanging out, while I was playing it. And I know that you'd be like, oh, you're coming into this big moment. And then I feel like it was literally the Eris thing. Like, I was like, am I missing something?
Did I miss something?
Because I'm just not feeling it the same. And I don't know if it's because it took so long to get to that point. I felt like I was gaming it in like a workhorse kind of way. I got to a point where I was just getting through it. And it wasn't until the end where I actually started caring. It was only in the last 5 main quests or so that I actually started caring.
No, I think it's a fair criticism. I do think it is imbalanced as a story. It needed spreading out a little bit more, like interspersed with the Aloy stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So you haven't completely broken my heart.
I am sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
That was the alternative line in The Godfather.
No, I'm kidding. Like, I'm obviously kidding.
I mean, hey, I platinumed it, and I'm currently playing the DLC.
That's more than I did.
Yeah, I didn't.
Just as a sort of side whisper, I think I prefer the DLC. But
The DLC's good.
It's
I like the
really
DLC.
good DLC, yeah. Which we all forgot to mention last episode.
Yeah, weirdly. I think that would have been like a given.
Yeah.
I hadn't even
not
finished the
played
main
it, so-
game. I wasn't going to be talking about it.
No, I meant me and Chip more than anything.
Yeah, you guys dropped the ball big time.
Yeah.
As is standard.
Yeah.
Well, me at least, anyway. Well, we have a couple of questions from our lovely audience on this subject. The first one comes from Yochki on Twitter, who says, do you think the quality of Horizon Zero Dawn's voice acting helps to carry the game through the more monotonous fetch quest bits? And perhaps in contradiction to that, we have Liam the Mason, who says, this is one of the few games where I enjoyed the side missions more than the story, which I still did enjoy. Would you agree?
Can I take
No.
this one?
Yes, of course you
I
can.
definitely
Well,
have some- I
Becky's
definitely have
given
an
her
answer
answer.
for
So,
Well, no, all I was going to say is to Liam the Mason in the nicest way. No, you're wrong. The side
You are
quests
wrong.
would
You
be
are absolutely
trash.
wrong. The side quests are rubbish.
Oh, there's such a ball ache. Definitely not. Like,
I love
I
some
did
of
them
them.
all. I did every single one, and I did all the stupid stuff they asked me to do, and it was also fucking repetitive. There were two
Very.
side characters that I liked, and I'm sorry, Becky, one of them wasn't Errand.
oh, okay, that's done it. That's done it. There's the end of the pod right there. Okay.
I didn't
I wonder how
dislike
long it'd
him.
take.
I need to point that out. But, like,
My sweet Mohawk prince.
Me and Sasha were talking when we were playing. Like we were saying, what is
Yeah.
it about Aaron?
I don't know. I really don't. He's just lovely.
Is it the hair? I don't know.
I think
sideburns?
We just couldn't. Work
I like
it
him,
out.
Becky.
Thank
Couldn't
you.
work
I
it
like
out.
Aaron.
I think I just really like his arc, his story. Like, he starts off as a bit of a weirdo and a bit of a lech, and kind of he has to learn to grow up and have respect for other people, not just, you know, disrespecting himself. I just really, and he's so sweet to Aloy. I love him.
One of his quest missions where he already thinks his sister is dead, and then you find her and you're like, oh great, she's alive, and then she dies.
Yeah.
And I found that really funny because I was like, oh, that was a bit pointless then, wasn't it? Sorry, mate.
It was really sad.
Yeah, but dead, alive, dead. So we're all disagreeing with Liam the Mason then that the side missions are better than the main story.
Yeah, like
yeah.
a good side quest should be a good story. In its own
Sorry,
right.
dude.
So like,
I do think though, to Yos's point, that I think the voice cast is very good.
Yes.
Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Lance Reddick, yes.
I didn't need anybody else. It could have just been him. That'd be fine.
All
He
the
could have voiced
voices.
everybody.
The way he sasses you throughout the entire final third, like, he's just had enough of your bullshit. And you've not even really been bullshitting. He's like, I'm doing all these quests for every other fucker. But he's just like, you need to hurry up.
Yeah.
Now is not the time. And you're
One of
like,
my favourite bits of the DLC is like, why are you going up here? You don't need to be up here. Like, you've got a thing
Yeah.
to do. And you're just like, no, fuck you, Silence, I'm going.
I've got it burned in my head now from that thing. I'd like when he said, "Try not to fall to your death," and then I immediately fell to my death, and I just thought, "Fuck you, Silence, you prick." That was your
Oh,
fault.
please tweet that clip. Once the episode's out, please tweet that.
Yeah, it's
I'll have
fantastic.
to.
That was amazing. Yeah. Can you imagine if he worked on a phone sex line?
No,
Why?
Just me then. Okay, so I feel like we've answered both those questions. Well, he's just got such an interesting voice, hasn't he? It's quite deep and like commanding. Oh my god, this
Which
is
is what
revealing
you
way
want
too much.
from
I
a
need to
phone
stop.
I was
no
gonna make
judgment. You know me, Chip. I've never kink shamed you once, but
I mean, of all the
feel like you
places to
should.
confess to this particular one,
He's just got a really good voice. Okay, that's all I
he
meant.
has an exceptional voice. You must
just
have
watch
some
The Wire. He
you
says
must have
some real.
weird reactions
aggress-
to Fringe.
segue.
Yes, well, I feel like we've answered those questions. Let's move on.
Fuck's sake, shit.
I need a minute. I'm sorry.
Me too.
You need to take a cold shower.
I really thought that was going to go down better.
I mean, I love The Wire, but not that much. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so moving on from anything we may have learned about anyone on this pod, I want to think specifically now about the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. So just like, you know, the planet as it is at that time, how we felt about traversing it, exploring it, you know, having a bit of a rummage through. And so aside from the story, how do we feel about the world of the game, Andy?
Well, I'll let you and Becky talk about the world building, because I will agree with you guys. The world building was like exceptional, but I do want to talk about the world design, because I'm a open world fan.
Ooh, yeah, go for it.
like I do, obviously I think the world building is excellent, but I think Horizon Zero Dawn falls short in terms of design, especially like in terms of traversal. It's like getting, like sometimes the route getting somewhere up a mountain or something, it's just way too linear. There's only one route up there, and if you come from the wrong angle, you are fucked. Basically, you have to explore the entire mountain to find the way to climb up, or you have to do what I did a lot of the time and just Skyrim your way up there, just like jumping on rocks.
I loved when you said to me that's the Skyrim method. When I was complaining to you, saying I can't find the grabby bits. I can't find where. So I'm just jumping at the terrain until I get
until
up
you
the
get
mountain.
Up there. Yeah, it's what.
That's how I imagine you get around in real life.
I did a lot of Skyrimming on this last play. That sounds bad.
Yeah. Phrasing.
The Skyrim method. I utilize
The Skyrim method sounds better than Skyrimming. Yes.
Yeah.
Another time.
Adventurer like you.
Yeah.
So I took a Skyrimming.
Nope.
Too much Skyrim tired me out. So, and also like the traversal markers, like if you were lucky enough to find them and not have to Skyrim your way up there, sometimes they were they were either hard to see or they were way too obvious. Like sometimes, like I like ones where it's like a telltale imperfection in the surface of the rock, because like a lot of games do, like Uncharted did it and stuff like that. When it was like that was fine, but I was more annoyed when you'd see like yellow ladders and like yellow ropes like scattered around the world, and then you'd find yellow like structures inside the bases, like everything being yellow that you could climb up. It just felt way too uniform for like such a chaotic world, and I just didn't like the way exploring felt very guided for a game where you feel like you should be Aloy exploring, like finding things for herself.
Yeah.
And seeing having those big yellow markers everywhere, it really like pulled me out. I was like, this is just, I feel like I'm just following a path somebody else has made for me, and it kind of bugged me. It just felt kind of counter to Aloy's like journey through this world, like exploring all these different aspects of it. Everywhere she went, there was a yellow ladder somewhere. So,
I think because at the beginning you obviously see the Nora Brave runs, which are like the yellow markers.
Yeah.
Like that made
sense. Yeah.
And it's almost like they needed to put a bit more work in to make that kind of element specific to the tribe area that you were in.
It should have been contextual each time.
Yeah.
Like everything should have felt right for that area in the world.
Yeah, and it does stick out like a sore thumb when, like as we say, all the other world building and design and stuff is so meticulous and so detailed, that they didn't just go that extra mile to make the traversal more, contextual.
Immersive, it should have felt more immersive, yeah. Oh, that's what I like about what I'm seeing from Horizon Forbidden West. Now they don't use all those obvious markers. You have to use your focus to like highlight places where you could get a foothold. That felt like that's a good use of the mechanics of the game, the first game, like expanding it, and it takes away all those distracting like little design flaws. So I felt good about seeing that, because it made me think like at least the developers were aware of that as like a problem.
Yeah.
Not a big problem, but it makes a difference. It'll make a difference in Horizon Forbidden West.
So I like that that's a thing in the sequel, that it's going to give you that option to kind of make it more exploratory.
Yeah, it'll feel more like
that is a word.
It'll feel more spontaneous.
But I think anything like that, anything sort of climbing and that sort of thing, I quite like. What is it? Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the third one of the new trilogy. I am never going to get those right, and I've played all of them recently.
Yes, I never get them right either.
Oh, I always have to look them up. But there's an options and a settings, so you can choose how much you want the climbing assists highlighted. So you can just have them sort of buried right into the background, so you as Laura have to explore, or you can have them really, really bright, so it's really obvious where you need to go. And I quite like that kind of accessibility of like how you want to play the game. I think there's a nice option for a game to have, and I think more games that involve exploration and climbing, it'll be good to have those options so you can tailor it to your own tastes.
Yeah, that's a great. I like that. I've never heard of that option, but I really like that.
It's really cool. It's a really cool thing to have.
Because I've not watched the trailer, one of the things on the traversal of the world, again, because this very much obviously is specifically one of the things that I find I have very little patience for in open world gaming. It's just a case of it's not my thing. I don't even think this is like I don't know how good or bad it is an example of, but it just tends to fit into my experience of these. However, what I would say is, Becky, I remember you telling me, you can take over some of the machines, you can take over them to like make them your steed.
Yes.
Even that was fucking awful.
Yeah, I hated it. I ran everywhere. I hated
it was
riding
worse than just pegging it everywhere. Like,
yeah. It
I
was
was like,
exceptionally janky.
it's
Yeah,
not even
but
faster though. Like, they didn't
it's
go
not,
particularly
and
quick. Their sensitivity on if you like wanted to move them ever so slightly left or something, and then they just veer on a 90-degree angle, and then you were like trying to go up a hill, but it clearly wasn't designed for them to go up it. But even though it was just a path, they'd start jumping weird, like bucking and stuff, and I'm like, stop it, just go on the path. Why are you going to the right?
The one that always got me was they slowed down when you were about to be attacked, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, this is the time to run. Like,
Oh, what's this? A friend?
like, no, go.
I did have a giggle occasionally though when I swear I didn't even run that close to the critters of the world when I was on one of those, but it would still be like wildlife kill because I clearly trampled them to death, and I'd be like, I didn't even think I went near them. Like,
This is why you're a murder, isn't it?
I'm not though. Do you know? I don't like killing wildlife in games. It's just not a thing I particularly enjoy. So some of my stuff I didn't like upgrade all of the pouches and stuff because I was like, oh, I'm just never gonna kill enough rabbits or whatever to find that one rabbit bone that I need. And twice, when I was on mountains, I did find a bunch of rabbits, and both of them that I shot, they slid off the edge of the cliff face. And I was like, well,
that was a waste.
I guess I'm not getting them bones then, or whatever was in there.
They're dying as they go over the cliff, like, why?
This was all in vain.
And you say that you don't like killing animals in video games, but can I ask you about how you reacted at the end of The Last of Us when you burst in on the doctors?
Humans are the worst, Chip.
Did you
Yes,
learn
doctors
nothing?
are the worst, Sasha. That is right, yes.
Chip, did you learn nothing from The Last of Us? Humans are terrible.
That's true.
Humans are terrible.
That's fair. I mean,
Kill them all.
I guess you were in the
That's
Joel
the official
mindset
stance
at
of
that
One
point.
Up Pod. I want to add to what Sasha said, like about just like getting places. Just a good open world game should be fun to get around. Like I love traveling in Spider-Man. I love traveling in Red Dead Redemption 2, Ghost of Tsushima, even like to a degree The Witcher 3. But I used fast travel a hell of a lot in Horizon Zero Dawn once I started finding all the campfires. I just started using fast travel. If it was a short trek, fine, but anything that involved me having to like go long distances because it's a really big map and it's not accessible. It's not as accessible as it should be. I just fast traveled, and that's something I very rarely do with open world games because I love the immersive experience of traveling. I traveled everywhere in Red Dead Redemption 2 just because I enjoyed getting from A to B, and it's a weird thing for me not to do that in an open world game.
Even on my replays, I tend to fast travel. I don't really explore much. Whereas, something like Red Dead Redemption 2, I would spend hours just riding around. So yeah, I get that. I think that's entirely fair.
The whole fast travel pack thing I found quite weird, because it's difficult to fast travel if you don't have that, because you can only do a limited amount. Like there's like a usable resource, but then once you've got the fast travel pack, you're good to go. And I thought that was kind of a strange thing to do. Like, why not just be able to fast travel to the camps anyway?
Yeah, it was almost like a hangover from like it being a bit more survival focused, which
Yes.
I think they were going for to a certain extent, but they obviously didn't pursue it very far.
No, because it was the first thing I did. I was like, well, I want that straight away, because otherwise it's going to be such a ball ache.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like the first big purchase I made was like, yep, thank you.
I will kill loads of rabbits to get that. Thank you very much.
I think another thing we have to mention with the world building as well is one of the controversies around the game. I know Sasha and I have spoken about this.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I tried to find the essay, and it's by a Native American
I found
writer.
it on archives if you hadn't found it.
Oh, you found it? Because I think it's been taken off Medium.
It got deleted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found an archive of it. If I can send you a link and we can
Oh, cool. Yeah.
add it to something.
It would be cool to post it out from the pod account because it's a really interesting essay by a Native American writer called Dia Lacina or Lacina. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, and I'm very sorry that I've probably just butchered it. But it talks about the issues of cultural appropriation in Horizon Zero Dawn, particularly to do with language that's particularly loaded. So terms like brave and savages and tribe. So very Native American specific language that has obviously been weaponized and used and culturally appropriated elsewhere. And it's something that hasn't really been discussed elsewhere in relation to the game. Like, reviews don't tend to mention it, and I've not seen much writing about it since. Certainly not in the run-up to Forbidden West. I was expecting maybe a bit more discussion of it. But the developers, to their credit, they did do their research and try to avoid offensive terms as much as possible. However, they also didn't consult with Native American speakers or Native American cultural representatives. So I feel like there's just a bit lacking, and it's a bit problematic when, they're trying so hard to present a positive American cultural and tribal society that they could have just done a bit more to ensure that they weren't going to offend anyone of Native American heritage. And I just think that it's worth bringing up in relation to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't aware of this. Can you send me this article? I'd like to read this.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think, Andy, you and I discussed it briefly, didn't we? Where, as in,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was someone who was involved in making the game, but some people had tried to claim when that criticism first came out, it could also be Viking or something like that. Like, as if it wasn't so
Yeah, they say
obviously
Aloy's more of a Viking figure than a Native American.
But it was really weird because Andy and I were talking about it, and then I completed the main quest where you save the Nora tribe because they're kind of getting overrun by all the corrupted. Obviously, if she's part of the Nora tribe, when they win, they do what to me, based on even things like, I don't know, like Disney's Peter Pan and stuff, is a very Native American victory cry of, I'm not going to do it for obvious reasons, but you'll know the one I mean. It's like the deep stereotype of a Native American war cry or victory cry. So even, it was just really weird timing because it just really stood out to me after we discussed that, Andy. Like, surely then old Nora would be based on a more Viking.
Yeah. I never bought the Viking thing.
No.
And that's definitely not.
No, and I think in some ways there's an aspect of it I like in a weird way, because I feel like there's something to be said for the fact that after centuries of being eradicated by white supremacy, it's a Native American style culture that survives the end of the world. Like, in some ways I can see it being spun positively, but that only works if you've done the research and you've done the work and you've worked with the people of that heritage to make it as authentic and as inoffensive as possible, and not just appropriated it because it looks cool, which I do feel like there's an element of here.
A large number of the characters are white as well, which kind of makes it a little iffy when you try to say, it feels very appropriate-y.
Yeah.
It's like you're thinking white supremacy, like eradicating it, and then what they do is just end up co-opting it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like there was a positive way to spin it, but they didn't go far enough. And it's a shame because there are other aspects of the game that are so progressive, like the fact that there are matriarchies. Aloy being a female character who wears clothing that's functional and not like sexy, and you get
no boob armor.
Yeah, no boob armor. It's my kingdom for no boob armor. And I think like it's, and there are queer characters as well. You help someone who's grieving the loss of their husband, and he wants to visit a shrine that his husband created, and there are all these like other aspects of it that you just think, oh, you were getting there, but it just sticks in the craw a bit when you think they could have done a lot more and been a lot more culturally sensitive in that aspect.
It'd be interesting to see what they do with the sequel then, if that's something they're going to address, or how, because it's not like they can change the entire base of the game, but there has to be something they can do to kind of do better, with their game and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would hope so. And obviously going further west, it's San Francisco, isn't it?
Yeah, San Francisco.
So there is the opportunity to have different cultures from, different... I can't remember what the baby farms were called, but you know what I mean. Like, they're where...
Let's go with baby farms, because I like that as a term.
But obviously, like, the whole Zero Dawn was all over the world. So hopefully, it gives them an opportunity to create a different culture that isn't necessarily so rooted in problematic elements.
Going back to the actual world building, I did love a lot of the design work. Like not the machines, we'll talk about that at another point. Just like Devil Horde, like in the shadow of the Metal Devil, when you're approaching it at night time, like the moonlight's lighting up this monolithic thing, you can't see the entirety of it. I loved that. That was a really good way of like conveying the scale of these things and what like humanity's perspective, like place in this whole thing. It put a lot of things in perspective from just a visual of how you were approaching this location. It was one of my favourite like visuals of the game. It gave me a good. It's one of the most immersed parts of the game for me, other than Gaia's sacrifice with the hollowed out mountain sort of thing, like the big crack in it with the sunlight beaming through. Yes. That was another really good one. That was another where you got a sense of the enormity of what had happened here. Like stuff like there wasn't enough of that in the game, and a lot of it happened towards the end. That's going back to the criticism of how the story was paced out, but a lot of the big wow moments came towards the end, but those were two really good. Like some of my favourite visuals from the PlayStation 4 era were in that section.
Yes, I agree that you've absolutely nailed some of my favourite stuff in the game as well. Like some of those moments where you just sit back and you're like, oh, this is good. I like this.
Yeah, I really liked how they blended the old world into the new one. Like, so you explored the ruins of the skyscrapers. There's the stadium that you find like old satellite dishes and things as well. Like, I think it's just, again, detailed. But yeah, I agree. There should have been more like wow moments just in the world. Like you could have easily had something monolithic and terrible that you just sort of potted around a bit that wasn't necessarily story related.
Yeah, there should have been more stuff to discover, like more big things. That was another thing about the design. Like they put all of the big stuff in the story rather than just have it. It's like an environmental thing that you just come across and like, wow, what's this? And then take a picture of it and then send it to your friends.
I did like the vantage points. I did think the vantage points were a good way of showing the old world. There's the one where you find the old fighter command, which I really liked. I think, that it needed more of those.
Yeah.
But I did like that you got the glimpses into the shape of the old world. Like you see Monument Valley, how it used to look, rather than, covered in robot monsters.
I would actually agree with that. I think it could have done with more of the vantage points versus the fucking metal flowers. There's too many.
Yeah.
There's too many to collect. And I think it was another thing that took away from any real enjoyment of wandering around, to be fair, because I felt like when I was moving between A and B, that's literally all I was doing. I was moving between A and B. There wasn't stuff to see along the way, just more machines coming after me, which was like, I did it on story mode, so it wasn't difficult. It just got annoying, which is why, you'd fast travel everywhere. But you wonder if, I wonder if I might have been more inclined to not do that if I was more likely to find things along the way to look at.
Yeah, that's a big thing of Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, travelling, you will discover something that's completely unrelated to the story, just like a little thing that tells you something about that world, or like a little sad story. It's like a little in a little bubble. Just you can just find things that doesn't guide you to it. You just come across it.
Yeah, and it's still like just as effective world building wise.
Yeah,
like the plague village that you find that's just abandoned, and there's no other story. That's just it.
Yeah, I think like a good open world game. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best open world games ever. But like comparing it to that should be the benchmark. And I wish Horizon Zero Dawn got a little closer. I feel like it was way too far away. It was a lot closer to being like, this is going to upset Chip probably, a Far Cry game. Just a lot of the things you did were objective based rather than like storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Like,
That's
'cause-
okay. You know my thoughts on Ubisoft games, so
No, I mean it's not. It doesn't quite go as bad
it's
as
not.
Ubisoft.
It's nowhere
which-
near as bad as Far Cry, but it reminded me a lot of it. There's just a lot of repetitive
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
I mean, this is why I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey forever, is because the map is fucking huge and it's filled with shit that doesn't really matter. And like, I quite like the monotony of it because I'm like, okay, I'll go here and I'll stab those people. Fine, no problem. Pick this up. Yeah, great. There's something inherently in that like appealed to me because I'm clearly a very boring person.
I
But
don't think
yeah,
anyone could describe you as boring.
well, try talking to my mother.
you just like boring things. This isn't a therapy session.
No, not again. We're not doing that again. We're not recording it. Yeah, we've had the sex line chat already, so let's not get into any more things
You
that
can't cut
are
that
going
now.
to cause me troubles. I mean, when I first played Horizon Zero Dawn, like I kind of knew it was a AAA game, but it felt like a AAA game that had a lower budget than some of them. Like, I wish I'd brought up the figures, so I actually did my research as host. That would have been quite good, wouldn't it? But it felt like a company that were trying to almost overachieve. Like, they had a very small budget and what they did was great. And perhaps I'm wrong in that assumption. We could maybe look into that afterwards. But for me, it felt like they had quite a small budget and what they managed to achieve was something really good for what they had. But again, I could be completely wrong with that. Maybe that's just my view on it.
Yeah, I get the impression that they prized the world building and the story over the actual day to day, but you know what I mean, like the actual like mechanics and function.
The actual world.
The game itself. I think they did the bigger picture and then kind of added everything else in afterwards. That's how it feels to me. But I love the bigger picture, so
It's the best, biggest picture.
yes.
I think one final thing I wanted to say about the world is that first time I played this, I just played it on normal difficulty. When I replayed it for pod, played it on story difficulty. So they were two very different experiences. But especially in those early days when you haven't really leveled up, you haven't got all your weapons upgraded and that sort of thing. Like, I've never known a video game world that felt scarier and that everything was going to fucking annihilate me as soon as I came across it. Because, like, you know, you just stealth your way through, and then even the watchers at the start, like, you can't mess with them, you can't fight them. I mean, the combat itself isn't very good, like, the sort of one-on-one, you know, fighting isn't very good. But, you know, I just felt absolutely terrified every time I come across this new massive machine, because I knew that if it spotted me and I couldn't run away, it would kill me. And I haven't had that with any other game, I don't think, you know, outside of, like, a horror game or something like that, that kind of that sense of danger that the world gave.
Yeah, it feels like everything is out to kill you.
Yeah. And some of them are big.
Yes. The first time I accidentally ran into a Thunderjaw was an experience.
Oh, we're going to talk about them, don't you worry. And it was such a different experience playing on story mode where I'd literally, would see a Thunderjaw and just flip it off and keep on running.
Fuck you.
That was quite cathartic for me. Well, we've touched upon some of our favourite characters already, but hey, why don't we have a chat about some of our favourite characters?
Okay.
I think it's... Do you think it's safe to assume that the one thing we all agree on is Aloy and how absolutely brilliant and flipping awesome she is? We actually have a question from Orange Light PC, our chum Orange on Twitter, who says, what are our thoughts on Aloy and how she impacted the representation of women in video games? So kind of let's start with Aloy and then we'll look at some of the other characters. Bash, how would you feel about that?
I loved Aloy. I think she's great. She's just genuinely really likable. I don't see how you can have anything negative to say about her. It doesn't all have to be glowingly positive, but I just mean, like, in that world, she was probably the best choice they could have made to anchor that story. I don't really have a great deal to add on top of what's already been said.
You're a fan.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
That's good. Actually, I think genuinely the only issue would be if you came on and you were like, Aloy's shit, isn't she? I think then there might be a slight issue.
I think then I'd be broken, like, fully. Like, no, I mean, obviously I love Aloy. I love how quick-witted she is, and like the shade
so sassy.
she throws at everyone. Like, even when you select the heart compassionate ones, some of them are still vicious. It's amazing. But I love the fact that she's quite flawed as well. You know, she's very stubborn and very quick to act without really thinking. She kind of just goes forth and is like, right, we're off to do this. Which Silence obviously takes the piss out of her a lot for. But I think it's really nice to have a female character that isn't like a totally positive, she's amazing, she's badass, she's so strong, like a strong female character capitalized, that kind of thing. She's actually multidimensional and flawed. I think a flawed protagonist is a trope for a reason, and it makes the story impact more because she's seeing the effect that the technology she loves could have on the world if she loses sight of how to use it. So yeah, I love her. She's amazing. And no boob armor, which is always a plus.
She's definitely fallen into like my favorite, like my list of favorite video game protagonists. Like she's right up there. That you said, Becky, like she's so sassy and quick-witted and like just scathing at times. And another aspect of the game I really like is I think, when she starts out, because obviously she's been an outcast her entire life, she's so curious about the world, and you see her grow, I think, between this sort of, this woman who is like, right, I want to go and just do this, and then she becomes this great warrior, well-respected and everything, and I really love her personal journey along the way, and all the things she learns and the person she becomes is something I really like about that.
I like she exudes warmth even when she's being like scathing to people. Like unlike other iconic PlayStation heroes like Joel or Kratos, she hasn't really let her life like crush her spirit or harden her. Like she's still very receptive to people even if they've treated her poorly. And I think it was like that was really important for PlayStation's new big like icon. She shouldn't just feel like she's copying what already worked and what already worked for men. It's much more interesting to do something different and something that doesn't always work, because like perseverance and compassion can be hard traits to write in a compelling way. Just look at how much trouble every screenwriter in America has had trying since 1978 trying to get Superman right. But I do think with Aloy they nailed it. I think she's a really, like Bash said, really likeable character, but she's not a pushover, but her heart's still open to like letting people in.
Yeah. And she's also allowed to be angry as well. Like one of my favourite moments of the game is when she saves the Nora and they all try to start worshipping her and she's like, no, like you don't get to do that. Like you've left me out for all of my life and outcast me and now you want to be nice to me. Like, absolutely not. And I love that moment. Like,
it gives me goosebumps. Even second time around, and I know it was coming, I still got the goosebumps from that moment.
Yeah, because it's great. Some male protagonists would have just taken the hero worship, and she's not about that. She's, she is a hero precisely because she doesn't want to be one.
Yeah, and she's just yelling at them, like, stand up, I am not your anointed. Yeah. Like, it's such a good scene, such a good scene.
So good.
I think it sums her up quite nicely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already spoken about the moment where she has all her allies around her for the final battle. I wish that was almost, like, I feel like that should have been written into the story rather than have been an optional thing. Because...
Yeah, that seemed a bad choice.
Yeah, it's such a lovely moment because she has been alone for so long. And to have all these people she's allied herself with along the way, who she's helped to show up for her, when no one has ever really shown up for her before, apart from Rost, is just... it's so emotional.
I need to go and watch that on YouTube because I've really missed that from my second playthrough. I need to go and do that.
Yeah, it's it's really beautifully told as well. Like the writing of that scene and the voice acting, it's so good.
Just to play slight devil's advocate on that point as well, is I actually like that it comes from doing all the side quests because I feel like that adds a little bit of substance to some of those. Like, yeah, we talked about how a lot of them are boring fetch quests and that sort of thing, but because you kind of get to know, because you do a few missions for these people and that sort of thing. So to have them kind of all turn up after everything Aloy is done, because how many times in video games do these side quests be like, oh, you're the protagonist, of course you will go and fetch this pail of water for me, no problem at all. So I quite liked that there was just something at the end of that where they all came to help you at the end.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just think like it didn't have to be optional. I think you could, those side quests could have been built into part of Aloy's story.
Yeah, it felt like it should have been part of her story.
Yeah.
Not something that you do just because you did a bunch of fucking bandit camps or whatever.
Yeah.
If you had the patience for it.
Yeah, I think like that's probably might have helped the imbalance of the story as well, to give Aloy's journey more meaning, is that she's she's finding these people, and that's the reward at the end of it that not every player is necessarily going to get.
Yeah, I definitely didn't get that. Yeah, I didn't do any. I did barely any side quests, so I really missed out on a lot of stuff like that. So it definitely undermines Aloy's character by making it an optional thing.
Yeah.
Because they overestimated how compelling those side quests were. But no, I'm not. I can't be fucking arsed with this.
I like them. I like the side
Me
quests.
too, Chip. Don't worry, you're not on your own.
Okay.
You just
good,
like
good,
you
good.
like just doing fetch quests and stuff. I don't know.
I like the characters.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't get a chance to know the characters because I was doing boring stuff for them. It's like, oh, fuck you. I don't give a shit, skip. Fuck off.
Actually, I think this is a really nice segue into maybe talking about some of the other characters then. So I think, yeah, Becky, we have to start with you. I think you need to get your love for Erend out
Yeah.
right now. This is your
Explain
time to
yourself.
shine.
Come on, explain
I
yourself.
don't-
If you need... No, you just say why you love him and it's okay.
I
Yeah,
just
I don't know exactly. Explain it. I don't understand.
I think part of it is from doing the side quests, and obviously I've played it a few times as well, so I feel like I've spent a bit more time with the characters in that sense. But I love how he's got his own sort of separate arc that is like prompted by Aloy being there. He goes through this journey of, you know, being a bit of a drunkard and being a bit of a clown to finally growing up and maturing and kind of becoming the man that his sister wanted him to be, because he allows Aloy to help him. And I think he's quite interesting as a male side character versus like he's not there to like undermine Aloy. There's no he doesn't feel emasculated by her. He feels strengthened by her, and I think that's a really unusual relationship to have between a strong female character. Ugh, I hate that phrase, but you know what I mean. And a male side character. I think usually there's something else, and I like the fact that he obviously fancies the pants off her, but she's not interested. And, you know, Aloy isn't given a romance option, which I love, because how many times does that happen?
Wait, didn't you, like when we were watching the Forbidden West stuff, didn't you keep saying you wanted them to kiss?
Oh, yeah, but like in the next one. Like, I'm
Okay,
happy
in
for
the next
Aloy not to have a romance. Like, we're going to get to that. Like, I've got a whole ship. Like, yeah, no.
You like the build up, okay.
Yeah.
Becky, you can edit that section. I think that's for you. I'm not doing that, all right?
No, but I think, and he gets one of my favourite lines in the whole thing where after Aloy saves Avad from Deval, he says, you know, I just thought I was showing off to this pretty girl in the middle of nowhere, and now I just realised she was lucky to give me a minute of her time. And I was just like, oh, he's so lovely. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting portrayal of masculinity that isn't toxic or emasculating versus a female protagonist, and I think it's a really positive relationship in that game. So that's why I love Erend. He's adorable.
So it's his facial hair.
I mean, it doesn't hurt. He's just got. He looks like he gives really good hugs as well. Like,
I'm glad you said hugs.
Oh God, I worried then. Jesus Christ.
No, the sex line is just for you, Chip.
Oh. I really like that there's a friendship at the kind of heart of it as well, and not a relationship.
Yeah.
Because when I first met Erend, I was like, you fucking creep. Because I thought he was about 20, 30 years older than Aloy as well, for starters. So I thought he was going to be this really horrible character that you probably end up killing. But yeah, he is a goof, a clown, and he kind of just accepts that. He's like, okay, she doesn't fancy me, that's fine, we'll be best friends then.
Yeah.
And I think more the media in general, like stories, I think they would be stronger for having just kind of friendship at the core, as the core relationship in a lot of stories. And I mean, I don't ship them, I just hope they'll be best buds forever.
Yeah, I do ship them, but I also would be
Who's
happy
gonna
with
win?
best buds.
I can't wait to find out who wins this argument.
What about Bash? Any characters you liked?
Yes.
Tell me about them. Didn't you said there were two, right?
Yes, there were two. There were two side characters that I felt really stood out and that I enjoyed my time with them. I'll go with the one that was less so more. It was just possibly one of the weirdest side quests in the entire game, which is with Bryn, the
I knew you were going to say that.
the monster blood drinking ex-shaman. I just think he's super weird and I love it. Like,
I know. I knew you would.
ousted from his tribe for drinking the blood of the machines, and he just goes, "Do you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna really lean into it." Like, I've had a taste for it now, and I love the way Aloy helps him whilst all the time being like, "I'm not sure if I should be doing this though. I feel like I'm enabling something that's really problematic." But also, he's telling me some interesting things, so, you know, who's to say what's right? But no, my absolute favourite character, and I do not ship him in any way, shape or form with Aloy, but just Nil. Or Nil.
Yes.
Just...
Oh no, I hated Neil.
I fucking loved him. I loved his whole murdery vibe. He was just like, his whole thing, his entire personality was, I like to murder people. And, like...
See, you murderous tit.
Yeah. I like that he never hides it. He's like, yeah, I participated in wars because I got to murder people. And then when they're doing the bandit camps, he's like, yeah, I'm doing this not for the good of, you know, the land. I'm doing it because I like to murder people. And then when it's all over and he's like, oh, come meet me on that big rock. And you climb up there and then he's like, I want us to battle to the death. I declined. I was like, no, thank you. But then I spoke to him afterwards and he's like, you broke my heart. And I was like, because you didn't get to murder me or me murder you. I don't know. I really enjoyed the vibe. I like that they put someone in who was just truly awful, but somehow really funny the entire time.
I just don't understand how you've gone from, I love this character who loves to murder people, from, oh, I knocked that rabbit off a cliff and now I'm sad.
Again,
people are awful.
Worst.
Sasha is a woman of many contradictions.
Yeah.
I feel it's pretty consistent, to be fair.
Thank you.
A rabbit's not a person.
Yeah.
I just think he needed to chill out a little bit, to be honest.
No.
Yeah, I think he needed a bath and like a cup of tea and just have a nice like self-care evening.
I think he just needed to be on his murdery way.
We've learnt so much about ourselves tonight, I find.
Mostly you.
Yeah.
Aloy. don't care about anyone else, really.
Cool.
I was given no real compel. I liked Silence purely because it was Lance Reddick. If anyone else had voiced him, I don't think I'd give a shit. I wasn't given many compelling reasons to like care about anybody other than Aloy, other than the characters in the past, like Elizabeth and Ted Farrow. Like I thought they were really interesting characters, but you don't spend any time with them. You just read what happened to them or listen to what happened to them. So none of the characters I met and like teamed up with and all that stuff did anything for me.
I think it is quite a testament to the writing of the past scenes though that Ted Farrow and Elizabeth Sobek and some of the Project Zero Dawn people registered so well, even though you don't technically spend any time with them, especially Farrow's last scene.
Yeah, Farrow is a much better villain than Hades, or I've forgotten his name.
Helis. Yeah, I've written that Helis is a bad villain. Like
I heard his name and I was about to write it down and then I forgot it. I was like, oh fuck, I don't care, dude.
But yeah, no, Helis is a terrible villain. Like I think he makes such an impression when you first see him at the beginning of the game, and then just disappears for the rest of it until the story needs him back again.
I think just going back to that Ted Farrow moment as well, when he kills everyone that's in, Zero Dawn, and just because he doesn't want, the future people to have the knowledge. So, oh god, that entire scene is just...
It's...
like
that's villainous. That's what the main story needed. It needed somebody like that who did something like that. He was such a good villain that we never got to punish.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, but I know that's kind of half the point. But we need the main story needed somebody on that level as well. He was just too good.
I think is like the reason why that moment lands so well is because you've seen all the work that's gone into creating the Apollo archive, and for him to just wipe out millennia of human history because he's gone a bit mad and has decided the murder robots the way to go. It's like,
which he built. His company built those, and that he's responsible for everything.
All of it. It's just him. And I love this scene with him and Elizabeth Sobek where he confesses to her that he built these robots, and when she's just like, "You're an idiot! Like, why is biomass their fuel? Like, did you not think this through?" Like,
I think even Jeff Bezos would look at him and go, "What,
yeah,
dude?"
Jesus.
If Elon Musk designed them, we'd be safe. They'd all blow up after half an hour.
Yeah, or drive on the wrong side of the road and hit something else. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Heatless needed to be more of a presence, more of an antagonist.
More charismatic, something, just
Yeah,
something you
anything.
could hold on to
Yeah.
in the memory. Because his name's not hard to remember, but I keep forgetting it.
Well, one thing we haven't really discussed or gone into great detail about so far, and for what I think is, for me, is one of the unique selling points of the game, is the massive robot animal dinosaurs. And we have another question from Twitter as well, from at Alex_Jewin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Alex. If not, please let me know, and I will make sure I say it correctly next time you ask us a lovely question. But they want to know, what is everyone's favourite machine, and why is it the tall neck?
It's not the tall neck.
Okay, well, then what is yours then, Andy?
I don't
See,
know.
you threw your sass and you didn't have anything to come back with.
I do love
I'm
the
not
tall
that,
necks.
and I'm not. I love them, but I don't have a favourite. It's not like a Pokemon. I'm not gonna like. There's not one I want to
Oh,
have
it
as
should
a
be a
pet.
Pokemon. Imagine catching these in a ball and
I
fighting
did
with them.
enjoy. Is it Snapjaws?
Yeah, Snapjaws, the crocodile
When
ones.
they jump
Yeah.
out, just jump out of nowhere. I love that. It's like, fuck you. What are you? Just try to cross the river. It's like, no, I just enjoyed them all in general. I didn't like the Tornex because it felt very Far Cry to me. It was a tower that was walking. That just got on my nerves.
But it was walking. It's different.
Yeah.
I just quite like that they kind of shuffled along, like they didn't.
Yeah, it's very serene.
Yeah,
They are lovely.
They're just sort of like, I'm just gonna plod in my circle, and that's it.
If it was just doing that, that'd be fine. But they expect you to climb the goddamn thing. And like, oh, it's like, no, fuck off.
They did have really great photo mode spots on top of them.
Yes.
Yes. I felt quite tranquil once I was up one as well, you know?
Oh god, phrasing.
Was Lance Reddick talking to you while you were up there?
Oh, yeah, he was banging on about Skyrimming.
Skyrim's the best way to get up a tarmac.
Fucking hell.
Please, someone request that as a t-shirt. Oh, God. Alex, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm not.
Moving on. Bash, did you have any particular favourites of the enemies?
No, I don't think I did. I think I'm like Andy. Like,
All right, Becky. Okay.
oh no,
Yeah,
I liked the tall necks, and I did like I said, I think it was really pretty once you were like a top one, and
Well
Nice,
phrased.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
that's what I
Yeah.
should have said. Yeah.
I especially like. Again, unfortunately, it is DLC. It's the Frozen Wilds DLC, but the one in that DLC, and you look up and there's all the stars and the Northern Lights, and I was just like, yeah, I'm fine to just chill out up here for a bit. This works for me. But yeah, in terms of the actual monster beast things, what I can say is I did not like the worm.
No, the rock jaws can
no.
fuck off.
Yeah. Fuck
I-
that.
I-
Yeah,
Fuck that
One-
The
thing.
Rockjaw was what got me stuck, and I dreaded facing it again until I discovered it in story mode, and then I just killed two of them in one sitting. And oh right, fucking hell!
My notes for this section read: Stalkers, glint whores, rock jaws equals utter twats.
Yeah, I only beat that worm thing through like a glitch sort of thing. Like I was just got stuck behind a rock where it couldn't hit me, and I'd had to very slowly like just throw arrows at it. It took so long. And even in story mode, like I got attacked by one and I was like, no, you're all right, mate. I'm out of here. I just ran away.
I think my favourite are the thunder jaws, purely because
same,
you can
same.
kill them with their own weaponry. Like, I really like the idea that you can just pick up a cannon and be like, haha, I'm shooting you with your own cannon.
I like them because it's a big robot T-Rex that you fight, and I was like, yeah, this is what I like. I'm gonna do that. Thank you very much. And also the Stalkers, Becky, completely 100%.
The
Like
worst.
story mode, fine, no problem. Because just run up, you're like, I can't see you. I don't give a shit. It's fine. But like trying to get them in just playing on normal difficulty, you know, like everyday normal difficulty. They were such pains in the arse trying to hit their camouflage thing to get rid of it. And then just when you hear that noise when one of those alert thing goes off, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, here they come.
Every time it was like entering stalker area, I was like, do I have to? Like, there's got to be another way. Like,
I don't want to. I'm just going to put 700 traps around me and rely on that.
Pretty much. Like, the Tripcaster was my friend. Like,
yes, I
it's
love
a good job they
Tripcaster.
disappeared after a while, because otherwise, like, the whole of that section near Meridian would have just been full of my traps. Just been like, nope.
I would like to, like, even though, like, didn't find most of them very not memorable, like, nothing stood out to me, but I did like how each machine required a different strategy to take them down. I did like the combat being very strategy heavy was quite enjoyable. Weirdly, I found it more enjoyable in story mode. You still had to use the strategy, because otherwise there was no way to take them down properly, especially the bigger ones.
Yeah.
So you still had to use the strategy. You still got to engage with that part of the game. So you got a good idea of how it all worked without the stress of being like killed and having to start over again. So everything with all the weapons, like the arrows and the projectiles and that was all great. The melee combat was a pain in the ass, but I'm glad Forbidden West is apparently going to fix that as well.
Yeah.
Because fighting humans was just awful most of the time.
Yeah,
But the
I
machines,
just
like, was
stealthed
really good.
everything for humans. It was just easier.
Yeah. Like, the melee combat was garbage, but, like, everything was, like, if you had got your arrow out, bam, like, it's really fun. And I liked that every mode of that game let you engage with it the way they intended. You didn't just have to, like, ping them and then they'd fall down dead. You still had to hit the weak points.
And I would disagree slightly.
Freeform Sasha in the house.
I mean, if you want to spend, like, a lot longer taking them down, sure.
I listened to Sasha versus
no, it didn't,
machines,
it didn't,
and
no.
I mean, I'd say strategy was an option. Like, you didn't.
Oh,
like,
strategy
especially-
absolutely was an option. You know, it's one of the early missions where you literally step into the camp thing. You're supposed to get to the blaze, like the big blaze thing, to then let the Nora in through the gap or whatever. And then she steps down. Aloy is like, "Well, we should be as quiet as possible. Try to not be seen until we get to the thing." And the first human, I was like, "Yeah, stealth them, no bother."
Oh.
And then I walked under the little bridge thing, literally the first bridge, the first thing where there's a person, and the machine saw me, and then he saw me, and I was like, "No, fuck it!" Ran, pegged it through this entire camp of monsters and people. Was just like, "Fuck off, cunts!" just aimed all of my flaming arrows at the blaze thing. It blew up, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna take everyone down." And I was like, "Yeah." It was chaotic
no
AF.
like, I listened to Sasha playing this game, and at one point she shouted, "Eat fire, fucko!" and it's my favourite thing ever.
Yeah, when I say strategy, I don't mean stealth. I never use stealth at all.
I didn't engage in the stealth very often.
Yeah, I never use stealth
I did
in
for like
story
a
mode.
little bit, and then I would go, "Nah, I can take him," and I just
Yeah, you don't need to. You're fucking Aloy. You can take anyone on. I did the same thing as you in that section, Sasha. I just thought, fuck stealth. Just blew up the thing, picked everyone off.
Yeah, to be fair,
Yeah.
like, the stealth in that mission is impossible. I've never managed to do that stealthily. I don't know. There's probably a route that, like, you can find, but I've always gone, and just run through, so...
And yet I use stealth all the time because I get too panicked when everyone spots me and starts coming at me at once. I can't do it. I want to stab you in the back when you're not looking.
Oh no, like,
That's
I
me.
use stealth for everything else in the game, just not that mission where you have to blow up the blaze. Yeah, no, I will, like, happily take down an entire fortress of Shadow Carja without, like, being spotted. Makes me feel powerful.
Like a coward.
Makes me worry you're going to be like hiding in my cupboards one day or something.
I like to kill the one that's like elevated, and all of the bandit camps is always the one that's in like the watchtower thing. I didn't care if they could see me; they'd all run at me. I'm like, "Yes, run at me. Let me shoot you in the head."
And you're worried
That
about
was my
me.
entire approach to bandit camps. Was I'm just going to stay up here. You come to me. It's fine.
And yet the rabbit going over the cliff.
Again,
Very
Chip.
upsetting, Chip. It was very upsetting. Not only that I had to kill it, and then that it slid off the side of a cliff, and I just had to watch its lifeless body as it rumbled all the way down. I was like, why? Why did that happen?
I'm just picturing, in The Simpsons when Homer falls down the cliff on the gurney. So something we've kind of, mentioned as we've been going on, there is a sequel coming, Horizon Forbidden West, which has sadly just been put back to 2022.
That's fine. I'll have a PS5 by then, hopefully.
Ha ha ha, yeah, sure.
You wish.
No, I will.
I think...
Are you going to steal
Sure.
mine?
Maybe.
Ooh, not if I get to it first.
A race.
I'm going to be moving around the country. They'll never find me.
So yeah, the release date has been put back to 2022. I think aside from all wanting a PS5 by then, I think one thing we can all agree upon is that we are all about giving developers more time, not only for more polished games, but mainly for their mental and physical well-being, which is a very good thing because developers get pushed quite fucking hard.
They should have weekends.
Yes.
Unionise.
Yes, for the love of God, please. If we can just sort of stop this whole toxic game development environment, that would be super swell.
Burn Blizzard to the ground.
Yay.
You may have to cut that.
Yeah, I might. But when it comes to Horizon Forbidden West, what are our hopes and dreams and aspirations for the sequel? Andy, let's start with you.
I feel like it all builds up around stuff I've already said. I want Aloy to have a story, just something that's just hers. And I want it to have stakes that mean something, and I want her to be facing somebody worthy of her. Like, she's such an iconic character. She should have an antagonist on her level. So I want that, and a lot of the other stuff is stuff that appears to be getting addressed, like improved melee combat, improved traversal. It just seems in general they're improving everything that the first game did, which the first game did a lot of stuff really well, but it was always falling short in places, and it feels like they're addressing that now. And so I just want a better game, like one that I feel compelled to play all the way through and not get just quit on halfway through. I just want more of this, and I want it to be more polished, and I'm happy to wait another 2 years if they need to wait that long just to get it right. I don't want them rushing it.
I think I can agree with that. What about you, Becky, aside from your Erend and Aloy fanfiction?
Now kiss.
I will go down with that ship. I will. No, I think I want more of the world building and the detail. I want that kept, especially now that we're exploring a new part of post-apocalyptic America. I want more of those stories from people on the ground who not survived, because no one survived, but endured the end of the world and experienced it firsthand. But also I agree with Andy. I would really love Aloy to have a properly compelling personal story, how she fits in a new world where Gaia is back up and running, and Hades is obviously still out there because Silence did his crafty thing in the post-credits scene.
Yeah.
Obviously more Lance Reddick, because
Yes. Wait.
no,
We all know about what you want.
yeah, no, I want more Silence, not Lance Reddick's sex phone line. And yeah, I think
That's the episode title.
and I think the one, oh no,
Oh my God, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Oh no.
Yes.
What have I done?
But also, I think Silence might be the antagonist that is worthy of Aloy. I think it would be a really interesting development if he did turn out to be the big bad.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I like him being slightly morally grey, but I think he has the potential to be a really good villain as well.
What about you, Bash? Will you play the sequel?
Maybe. I don't want to commit to anything. I've not watched the trailer. I probably won't, but that's not I'm not really a trailer watcher, films, anything, to be honest. I just tend to have a pretty solid idea of things I will like. We'll see when it comes out. I probably won't play it when it comes out. I'll probably wait. I mean, we all know, unless it's something that I really, really, really want, I have a 50% off on our rule anyway with games, which means I tend to play things quite a while after they've been out anyway. So yeah, I'm unlikely to play it when it first comes out. I might. The story did get me enough towards the very end that I was like, I'm interested to see where it could go. But yeah, it'll depend on things like when I Google how long to beat this game, like how many hours it wants me to put in, and if people have said if the traversal is not much different and things like that, I might be like, I might just wait.
So we'll see you in year 7 of the pods, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, that said, Frozen Wilds, the DLC, I mean, I've only been playing it for like 2 days, but I feel like it's much faster paced, and I'm enjoying it
Yes.
a lot more. But then again, it's just a small subsection. It's not going to be a whole new world.
But there's some very fun things in it. There's some good weapons and new enemies that are really great in that.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, you'll enjoy those. Yeah.
And new outfits, which is always exciting.
Woo! No boob armor.
Still no boob armor.
I wore the same outfit all the way along until I got the last...
The shield weaver.
Yeah.
No, I change my outfits all the time. Obviously.
Yeah, it's strategy, because some of them are stronger for certain things,
Yeah, and
right?
also, like, the Kaja blazing armor is really cool.
See, I had one for, like, stealth. I had one for, like, fire combat, for frozen combat.
Oh, of course you did. Yeah, but no, I mean, like, I tended to adapt mine to the areas in the map I was in.
I guess that's if you're not playing it on story mode, which is, like, you're invincible. Essentially, the only things that can take you down are genuine complete surprise attacks where they just kind of bamf on top of you and you're like, oh no, I am crushed, I cannot get away, which happened to me twice. Or falling, she's not invincible at falling. If you fall, you still die.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
and I did
I
that
managed
like,
that still.
yes.
I did that a lot.
I got knocked over by a watcher and, like, flew off down the side of the cliff and was just like, oh no.
Just like the rabbit.
Just like the rabbit.
Well, we've spoken a lot about Horizon Zero Dawn, weirdly, because it's the game that we're covering this month. But what are our our final thoughts? Our favourite final thoughts on Horizon Zero Dawn. So let's go in order. So let's start with Bash.
I was gonna go, it was fine.
Ah.
No. I did enjoy it. I think I don't know that it's converted me to the idea of open world RPGs. Even when I've thought about and still, I'm sure one day we'll do an episode covering Nier. Like, it's still something I'd like to do because, you know, I can pinpoint, say, with a Batman or a Spider-Man, it was the characters as much as anything. Like, I have such a long history with those characters, so it was really easy to stay in those worlds for a longer time. I can't pinpoint why this one weird Japanese game really did it for me, where even something like this didn't entirely. So it's not really convinced me in that respect to the concept of the type of game it is. But I did really enjoy the story. I've liked playing as Aloy, as the awful phrases you use it, Becky, the strong female protagonist, but it is really still quite unusual. It's getting better, but it's still quite unusual in the big, you know, AAA type games, and it's really nice to see. I think whatever they do with it going forward, I think it's obviously going to be hella popular, as it should be. Just not... it's a very good version of what it is. I managed to finish it and I managed to platinum it, so I think that's probably the best compliment I can give it.
Nicely done. Very
Yeah,
diplomatic. I
like
like that. Okay, Andy, you're up next because you're the meat in the sandwich. Is that what you mean? That's not what you mean,
I
is
don't
it?
know. Move on.
Thank you.
You're in the middle. You're in the middle. Go.
I'm the cheese. No. Depends what kind of sandwich you're having, really.
That's true. You could be the pickle.
I feel like you're a pickle.
I'm very much a pickle.
All right, Pickle, what are your final thoughts on Horizon Zero Dawn?
I think it's a game like at arm's length away from greatness. Like, if I'm thinking about, like, in terms of the PlayStation 4 exclusives, like the God tier would be Last of Us 2, God of War, Death Stranding. For those games, the gameplay accentuates the themes and the story, and whereas with this, the gameplay is really entertaining, the story is like a little uneven, and they don't really complement each other. Like, they feel quite detached as an experience. I'd put this below. I'd even put this below like Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man, but I would put it on par with like Uncharted 4 and like Lost Legacy. So still very good, but it feels like a slam to say it's like 3 tiers down. But it just kind of speaks to the ridiculous standard of PlayStation 4 exclusives. It was like that was an incredible era of gaming. So like if Horizon Zero Dawn was on the Xbox, it would be their top tier, like by far. It's really good, but it's just not PlayStation 4. It's just not on the PlayStation 4 level of true greatness.
And Becky, as the cherry on top of this
Why?
Horizon Zero Dawn cake.
Never make a
I
sandwich.
thought you were a sandwich.
Okay, then
Am I-
you would be the rapper?
Am I a pickle?
Thank you.
Yeah. A pickle in a
What's the
cake?
brand?
Is it because I don't fit? Am I bad?
Where's the brand?
I like pickles.
In a cake?
Well, not in a cake.
Look, Becky, what were your final thoughts on Horizon Zero Dawn?
I mean, well, it's obvious that I love it. I think Andy's right. It's not top tier. You know, on a truly objective, emotionless level, I get all the criticisms and I think they're all perfectly valid. But I just have such an emotional attachment to this game, to Aloy, and to the story that, you know, I think I'll keep playing it. I can't wait for the sequel. I'm replaying the DLC at the moment because it's great. And yeah, I love it. I've latched onto it in such a way, and I love it. I can't really say any more than that, really.
Definitely better than Days Gone.
Oh yeah, way better than Days Gone.
Well, I mean, if we're going with a food analogy, clearly I would be the
Butter.
ice cream.
Ice cream. Okay. What are we making
I
again?
have no idea what we're eating, and I don't think I want it.
I don't know. I have a food-based name anyway, so who cares anymore? I basically just have to echo Becky, so I guess I am the cherry bread as well. I completely understand the criticisms of the gameplay and some of the story aspects, but for me, it hit me so hard emotionally. Like, just as soon as I finished this game, it was one of those things where I just had to sit down and take 5 minutes and just kind of soak in what had happened, because I just felt so... not necessarily happy, but it was almost like this sweet melancholy, and just like, you know, I cried again second time round when Aloy visits Elizabeth, you know, her body. It's just such a lovely moment. Oh, sorry. And yeah, it hit me hard a lot of times, and yeah, I love a game. I agree that, you know, objectively it's not up there with some of the greatest PS4 or PlayStation exclusives, but it's easily in one of my favorite games of all time. Hey, let's do a recommendation, shall we?
Why not?
Perhaps, somewhat unlike me, I'm going to recommend a comic book. In
What's
fact,
this?
it's the Horizon Zero Dawn comic book.
Whoa! What
That's a
shock.
surprise.
It's Horizon Zero Dawn, The Sunhawk by Ann Toole. It's the first volume in an ongoing Horizon Zero Dawn comic. And I'll be honest, I was actually a little underwhelmed the first time I read it.
Great recommendation then.
It's a slight recommendation, but I think the thing is that it was mainly that Aloy isn't actually the initial focus of the first run, and which I didn't know. I was like, oh, Horizon Zero Dawn comic, yes, hook that into my veins. It actually follows Talana, the hunter, who you meet at the lodge, and she's a general pal of Aloy. So it's actually her, and I think she's actually getting her own spin-off comic, so I think it was to lead into that. So I think my initial reactions were very much like, well, this isn't about Aloy, I hate it, obviously, flip a table. But I think one of the best points of it is the art is so fantastic. It's looks different to the actual game, but you can tell that it's very much set in that universe. And the thing is, it is only about £6 or £7, the first volume, on the Forbidden Planet website. So, you know, it's worth a punt. Or check it out at your local independent comic book shop as well, because they are very important to support. So I am going to recommend it. It's Horizon Zero Dawn, The Sunhawk, Volume 1 of the Horizon Zero Dawn comic book. Go read it. Come and tell me what you thought.
No.
So that's us done for another month. Thank you so much for listening to our inane rambles once again. We really do appreciate it. If you'd like to help us out, there's actually several ways you can do this, and it can all be done with your index finger, like all the best things in this world. You can shut up. You can make sure you're subscribed to us on your podcast platform of choice. You can drop us a like and review on said platform, because that helps so much. Like the way the algorithms work on these things, a like, a review, it boosts us in the chart. It means we get seen by more people, so that's super helpful. You can follow us on Twitter, where we're at OneUpPod, which is 1UPP odd. Yeah. And come get involved with all the video game stuff that we tweet. Come tweet us your thoughts on Horizon Zero Dawn and everything we've spoken about. And if you wanted to share us on your social medias as well, if you wanted to tell your friends about us, your family, your enemies about us, that all helps massively as well. And the more ears we get on this, the quicker we can bring you those things that you've asked for, like your What Up Fucker t-shirts.
They're going to happen. I will pay for them myself if I have to.
Becky, if people want to send you their Aaron fanfictions, where can they find you?
I am on Twitter at Becky Graceley, and I'm on Instagram there as well.
And Bash, where can people come and talk to you about the games you actually love and not the ones we make you play?
I am Bash at Demon Head wherever you might find social media. I don't know.
Andy, do you want people to come and talk to
I
you?
don't really, but I can't help it. I'm at Trilly_defective at Twitter, and that's it. You're not getting anything else from me. Go away.
And you can come and tweet me your best food analogies. I'm at the Chip Thompson on Twitter, or you can find me on Twitch where I'm Chip Thompson's Thumbs. Again, thanks so much for listening, folks. We love you all for listening each and every month, and we really appreciate all the lovely feedback you give us. We will see you next month for an exciting pod topic of Andy is old as fuck.
That's what we wrote down.
And most importantly, don't forget to get a life and play video games.